Just
Use a hose as a mean weapon.
wait, I what?
Use a hose as a.
This
year I started again.
I do. What did I get?
Rock.
Did I get you?
Do we know if Nate's
Oh,
coming?
Rock told you.
Yeah.
He's very grateful for
Was or not? I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if he's.
All right. Well, it's 1:00, so we will start the Park and Shade Tree Commission meeting. Is there any, the meeting is being recorded for public consumption. Is there any public comment? No? Hearing none. Oh, no Dwayne tonight, it's you. All right, you got any updates? That's fine. We have a lot to go through today, so any like brief updates you have for us?
I can give a brief update on trees.
Go for it.
With disease and insect issues, if we have anything, emerald ash borer, of course, we've been treating that. And in the past couple of months, I noticed we have approximately 300 trees, ash trees. I do have one or two that is dying due to the emerald ash borer, but the spray that we use, the chemical that we use, is 99% effective. So if you lose one or two, that's going to happen. So I am losing about three trees out of them 300. So that's not too bad.
That's not bad.
Spider lantern flies in the borough, I'm not seeing any issues, so we didn't really treat anything. We did treat for some aphids along Dauphin this year. That would have been prior to or after the last meeting. We had some issues where they suck on the leaves and that, they drop a lot of sap, and people complaining about the cars. So I did treat for that, and the majority of the people are happy with that. And I'm not seeing any leaf scorch issues this year that are that bad, so we didn't treat for any of that. So that's your disease and insect problems. The stuff that we've done and what we're preparing for in the next month or so is our tree planting. I have 39 trees that are going in. I have a list here if anybody wants to see it and where they're going. A majority of them are maples. I don't plant oaks in the fall time because they're hazards, fall planting hazards. There's some other trees that we avoid. On the other end, we have 12 removal for contract lists that Martin's going to be doing, and they will be starting the beginning of next month. And they'll have that done in a couple days. They don't take long. Otherwise, we're doing our normal tree trimming and request and removals.
Okay. The 39, those are all street trees?
They are all, they are all street trees, yes. No park trees, that's up to Dwayne.
30, okay, you can stay back there then, I guess. Sorry.
That would be, if somebody would request, I would order that, but this is all on the street.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, sounds good. Nate, I guess you're actually up. Welcome. Discuss a possible donation and planting of wildflowers in the Logan Avenue swale.
Oh, yeah, I did. I live near there, and I know the little strip didn't get mowed this year, so I went out and I took some pictures of the milkweed that was blooming. And like a little 20-foot buffer on either side of where there's now starting a creek that's starting to form and hold water. And so I just have a couple of plants that are just floating around my inventory that are native wetland wildflowers, and I had reached out to see if I could just toss them in there, ironweed, New England aster, a Joe Pye weed. It's just a couple of things that'll hopefully start to seed themselves in. I think having some stuff, I know that's an area that folks complained about, but I think the more color and throughout the seasons that are going on there, the easier it'll be to maintain that little area. I think the milkweed looked really nice this year, but that's only 5 or so weeks of bloom time, so Yeah, I just have like like 6 plants that I'm like, I don't really know if I'm gonna find a home for this, and I'd rather toss it in there.
Did you plant them already?
No, I'm gonna wait until like later this fall.
They'd get permission.
But yeah, I just
think,
heard
yeah,
that,
that's-
so I figured admittedly I didn't realize that was gonna be on the agenda. I just emailed Michelle and said, hey,
And
I have
here
a
it
few
is.
things, and I tossed them in.
Cool.
Yeah, it's
Okay, and you guys are all good with that? Yeah. Okay. All right. You popped in a little late. Do you have a public comment you'd like to share?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So,
That's okay. You jumped past. You go ahead.
I didn't get to sign in.
You do need to sign in, but why don't you share with us and then you can throw that information up there.
I'm Jill Santoro. I live at 1633 Old Wyomissing Road. So I'm real close to the park, and so I have an interest in this, what can do here. I had had a conversation with Michelle Baer. That's you, Michelle. Again, we spoke on the phone, and I had some concerns about our deer population, and I think you answered really a lot of my questions, and that some of the concerns would be more addressed with the grants that are coming up in spring of '26. Is that right?
Yes, just to give the committee a little background, when she called me last week, I pulled up and shared all the information from the USDA survey that was done back in '21. One of the recommendations in the park stewardship, or I'm sorry, not the park stewardship, the overall parkland stewardship plan is control of species. And I think at some point we're gonna have to get into a conversation, what are we doing about the deer and the forest stewardship plan that Jacob Schultz is going to be doing for us. I also expect we'll have some recommendations about deer enclosures, deer exclosures, potentially calling the herd. I know that's something we don't speak about in public, but I think at some point we're going to have to.
Yeah, I mean, I know our numbers are incredibly high.
They are high right now, and again, as I spoke to Michelle, there are a number of very young fawns. In fact, there was a young one born and under my azalea bush for a whole day until his mommy came back and got him. Beautiful, beautiful, and I hate to see them. I hate to see anything bad happen to them, but there's a number of very young fawns right now, which is unusual behavior. So, one of the things that I'm concerned about is wasting disease, that, a large deer population in a small area will have, as well as, again, I was worried about accidents, things like that. So, again, Michelle, you addressed it, and it seems like it's in the plan, so I appreciate that. The other thing I did want to bring up was, and I'm sure you guys all know about this because my neighbor spoke about it at the Borough Council, is concerning dogs in the park. There are 2 German Shepherds that have gotten loose, and several people have been bit. And I don't know if I know it has been brought up before Borough Council, but I think the park also needs to be on record of knowing that this is a problem. I don't know but do you think it's a park problem? It sounds.
You happen to abut the park,
Right.
but it's, as it was described before, it was a problem because the people don't secure their dogs. The dogs leave their yard like dogs could leave yards any place in the borough. Well, I understand that, but that's their neighborhood, yeah.
Right, they're hurting people. We have several people who have been bitten. One person was last March. My husband and I cleaned him up. I don't believe he pressed charges. But that did happen. I think it's badly bit.
That's the doctor.
It's not so. It's more of a borough problem than anything. I think Borough Council again is well aware of it now because people have made complaints. But I think the park also has to be aware that these things are happening in the park. So we're in the fields. So in some ways it is a park issue if there's vicious dogs. Again, it's somewhere between the borough and the park, but the park also needs to be aware.
Fairview. You had to move from Fairview to County's Rock.
That's right, but no, I love the deer.
I'm here to tease you.
And these two dogs, I think, again, they will continue to get out and terrorize people. There's a lot of children in the park and play, I see them all the time. And that's a huge concern.
Thank you, I appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind signing it over there, you're welcome to stay for the meeting.
No one's that.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Where were we? Number 4, we are going to jump ahead, that's the old one. Isn't it we added budget requests for number 4?
I don't have.
That's okay. I have, do you guys have number 4 with budget requests? Oh, let's jump back. Do you have any brief updates for the parklands?
I do.
Thank you.
For the last couple of months, just review of what we've been doing. We installed a new trail between the Old Mill parking lot and Ranges Bridge. We had a week, 7 days or so of storm trees that we cleaned up in July. Worked on a lot of the beds, the flower beds at the borough buildings, the malls. We were working pretty hard this year on spraying, like a lot of the invasives and areas. Had some training sessions. We did a lot of weed eating, road mowing, arm mowing, the weekly grass mowing, had staff meetings, more trees and cut, like the waterway, cleaned the waterway out between Reading Boulevard and Cambridge. Sign repair. We cleaned out around the Shirk bench a good bit and put stone dust in around and cleaned up that area where the stones were, like right before the stargazing event. We've been working on like a lot of the permanent benches that we call permanent benches that have the wood that's posts that are actually in the ground, replacing a lot of the wood on those. Worked it on the irrigation system and the irrigating at the circle. We started cutting, or we cut trees and elevated a lot of the limbs on the alleyway between 6th and 7th Street over by the Heights. Cleaned a lot of trash up along Museum Road the past month and a half. We started budget meetings, and we started like the winter stuff, the snow plows, the snow blowers, things. We've been starting those for maintenance to get ready for the winter, truck repair and inspections. And one thing that I want to say is thank you to all the volunteers and everybody that showed up to work in the Pines area behind the bar. It's great.
Thank you. Thank you. Does anybody have anything else to add? No? Okay. Budget requests. So I did not put anything together. I mean, I would like to, I know, Lucy, you have a very detailed but small budget that we can just throw up there. And I don't know that you have to go in too much depth on it.
Yeah, I'd say,
Think
and
it's-
again, this is preliminary. I mean, I did try to get as specific as I could, but things could certainly change a little, and there's, certainly flexibility for.
There it is, yeah.
Sorry. Like, what was I doing when I was?
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, your total's $514. I am sure
And
we can
we'll certainly handle that.
make that work.
Greg, do you want to talk about any potential draft items you have?
As far as the additional money for the, because last year we put 20,000 in. What are we looking at for this year?
I mean, the reality is of the grant funding that we have, really just the items from the Rotary event, October 11th, are going to be captured because we're not going to order the trees for round 2 until spring of 26. We've started capturing some of the cost for the signs. We have the cost from the trail relocation. So to me, a lot of the grant funding is going to carry over to 26, but I would hope you would want to add on top of that.
I mean, I would, which I know will get pushed down again. Last year, we requested 50. I would probably request 50 again. I think that's something I specifically asked for, not you guys. I mean, you're looking at a much different budget. I'm thinking of specifically the 50 would be the Parkland Stewardship Plan. And we fell back down to 20, of which I feel like we've only used 7 to 9. I feel like I saw that somewhere.
Technically, you could say we haven't touched it.
Right. I mean, I saw the number in there somewhere was, but yeah, I mean, the goal is maybe we're pushing through with the grant money and we're using very little. And so we, for the Parkland Stewardship Plan, I would, combined with the forestry plan, because that will be completed.
Probably December, January.
So that will be, you know, I'd be asking for 50 for the stewardship plans. And
I'm probably gonna
We're not gonna
echo
get that.
and maybe add on to that at least the first finance committee meeting, because we are going to be applying for a C2P2 grant. There's going to be some type of match funding to go along with that, but that's a pot of money that we can ask for several hundreds of thousands of dollars to start implementing the stormwater recommendations, some of the forest management recommendations, like bigger ticket items. And, you know, if you're asking for $500,000, we're probably gonna have a match of at least 50,000, if not more. For Phyllis's purposes, we put both the expense and the revenue in the budget. So I mean, I can explain at that first budget meeting, they see sticker shock, like, why is there $500,000 in here for parkland improvements? It's because the expectation is we'll get grant funding, but we're gonna spend the grant funding, so it needs to be captured both places.
Right. Okay.
So your $514, Lucy, is, yeah, 1% of
You're
that.
good. You just keep asking for $500 every year. You're good. You're good. Yeah, I mean, outside of the Parkland Stewardship Plan, I mean, that's all up to whatever else you guys got. But that's what I would like to push for us and all that. Does anybody else have any other comments on budget requests for the parks, the parklands, street trees?
Back on the wrong
Greg,
one, sorry.
Is my understanding is that the staffing for the Parks Department might be adequate if Public Works would stop poaching. Is that,
What do you mean?
stop pulling,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I am gonna put in for one more parklands employee for this year and two
Okay.
more buildings and grounds. Because parks, Dwayne's crew does a lot of work at the playgrounds, which takes them out of the parklands, and buildings and grounds is supposed to be playgrounds, but there's only two of them.
Okay.
They can't keep up because they're at the pool then majority of the summer.
That's what it is. Yeah, because the parkland numbers, the parkland staff have been in buildings and grounds
And streets.
hours and streets.
Yeah, they do all the road
a
mowing.
good portion of
They're
their,
working on stuff now this year, spraying a lot of stuff along the roads to help reduce the time that either these guys are out or the street guys are out road mowing. So we've started trying to implement stuff to reduce the workload along the way.
okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions about budgets?
In terms of, you know, actually purchasing materials, what would be, I mean, do we need to wait till January? Does it, not that it matters. I'm just curious how this works.
We haven't spent this year's money, so I guess some things could be ordered this year.
I'd have to go back to Phyllis and actually get what we budgeted specific for the bird boxes versus what's been spent, and then I can get you total.
We spent the money from
Did you?
the boxes
Okay.
this
Yeah,
year.
never mind.
This year's money.
At the beginning of the year when we got the boxes and all the materials, we spent, what was it, like 250 or something?
I don't remember, that sounds about right. It
Or
wasn't,
something like that. But I remember we ordered a bunch of stuff because I went to Etsy and Amazon, I was all over the place. And ordered stuff.
yes, we did.
But even if we spent the bird box money, there's still money for the car.
That would really come down to materials and supplies, so
If you need a couple $100 worth of materials, we can do that this year.
Okay. The subcommittee hasn't really talked that much about, you know, the timing of what, I mean, obviously, we don't need the posts and we don't need to have the boxes in hand until the end of February. That's when those would go in. But work on, the baffles and the Noel guards, little things like that.
What do you need so far this year? Do you need anything else this year?
Start
Depends on
putting
when-
in, we
Huh?
can start putting in more baffles now, right?
Well, depends on our baffle maker.
Oh. Or
Yeah, that's
see,
a lot.
I mean, you can purchase them too.
Dwayne and I were talking about the bird boxes actually today, and it's kind of thinking, I'm thinking as well, the ones we ordered off Amazon, they were cheaper and seemed to be a little bit better.
Which ones ordered off Amazon?
I ordered 2 or 3 of them for you off Amazon.
Of the ones that were installed this year,
Yes. they were the ones
I didn't
that
think
get
there were
all
any
these
from
like
Amazon.
stuff.
we had Arts, we had Ken's,
And the ones,
and
the
then
model.
the whitehorse.com from California. Maybe they came through Amazon? I don't think so though, because
We definitely ordered from Amazon. There's 2 or 3 out there that we ordered from Amazon, and they were cheaper and just seemed to be a good
I'd have
quality.
to look at
I'd like to
that.
know which they are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'd have to go out and look and see.
well,
Very similar to majority of what we have. They matched a lot of what we have out there already.
so I think he's talking about the white horse boxes, which are cedar.
That could be it. That sounds familiar.
Yeah,
And,
they
A
will.
lot of the small companies sell through Amazon too.
and
Oh.
we can't put those up on, according to Dwayne, he couldn't figure out a good way to mount that kind of box on T-posts, and he prefers the iron T-posts as being much more durable and less likely to get knocked over or whatever than the mounting post you'd have to use for other boxes. That's one consideration, is what kind of mounting system.
It'd be nice to find one that you guys like that's working well and stick with it. That way we don't have a bunch of different
Mhm.
styles out there that they have to make different poles for.
Right.
Yeah, if we can get consistency, then it just passes forward from year to year, and the new guys are just learning the same sort of system.
Yeah.
If you look at your supplies and your timeline of what you want and how long it's gonna take to get and
Yep, yep.
what needs to be built, and then come back.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can just email Greg and say, this is what we'd like to get this year, so you
Yeah.
can find the money. In the meantime, we'll put that money aside for you next year.
Okay, Gene Seelig has one of the Ken Leister boxes still that I sent you a little email you probably didn't see yet. We took it over to Home Depot to actually mount it on a T-post to make sure, it went very well. But she is supposed to get in touch with you to bring it over to put it with all the rest of the boxes in the barn. And I've asked her to take a bunch of photos then, so we know exactly what we have. And, then we can sort out, that would be one way to sort out for sure which boxes you're talking about. And, yeah, the White Horse boxes have their issues for our monitors in the latch system, but maybe we could put a different latch system on. It's got a screw with a really sharp tip, and you have to screw it in every time. And if you don't have the door pushed all the way in, you end up creating a false channel, and then anyway, so I haven't found the perfect box.
We'll find it at some point.
Anyway,
We'll find it. Is there any other information we need about the bird boxes, or are we good? You can get your supplies together and
Right.
talk to these
right,
guys.
and I would like to, create a little report to be posted in the kiosk.
Okay,
I'm thinking I'd start with Margaret's, compilation, but maybe, put it in a slightly different format
okay.
and make a 1 or 2 page collage of photos from this
Photos
year.
would be great, yeah,
Maybe you'd want,
fantastic.
maybe we'd want to show like last year versus this year.
Change in numbers?
Yeah.
That could be interesting. Because you did state at one point, like, last year's doesn't give us any speculation.
It was really
necessarily. This year
interesting.
Was very different.
A lot fewer bluebirds and a lot more chickadees, and yeah,
Yeah.
they mix it up, those birds.
Fantastic. Okay. We have the education subcommittee, which basically Nate and I met, with the team at Penn State. We met with Brian and Masa and a few other people. Masa is the instructor for environmental science. When we originally spoke, this was the group, I think I told you guys we were gonna try and get teams to work on specific projects from her class in the Parklands. When I originally heard about them, I assumed these were sort of agriculture, horticulture-based students, when in fact they are not. This is an elective class for them. This is a way for them to dip their toes in sustainability, environmental sciences, and do some work on site. So we discussed some stuff with them, came up with a few different options, and ended up having 7 teams sign up to work with us,
Wow.
which is approximately 200 hours of labor. Each team is 3 to 4 members, and each student has to do about 8 to 10 hours. We have 3 teams that are focused on invasive species. So it's really about me finding time to meet with those 3 teams. I'm gonna go over this with you tomorrow, and saying this is where you're gonna work, this is how you're gonna remove it, this is where you're gonna leave the material for the Parks Department, and kind of get together with them. We'll have to kind of talk about details of that. And that will probably take them 2, possibly 3 little runs over the course. This is all done by the end of November. We have 2 teams for riparian buffer work. Right now, of the 2 teams, I have half of 1 team signed up to help on October 11th. So that'll get a couple hours in for them. I'm still waiting to hear back from the other team. Finding out what kind of work we can do with them. It could be small plantings even of stuff. I mean, this is not their topic of study. So they are learning. And so any small little thing we can do that relates to any level of riparian buffer work is going to be fine. It's planting, or is it cutting back some weeds? It could be anything.
I was gonna say, partner them with Larry and they'll get an education.
Exactly. Now, if Larry wants to like work aside them for free labor, that's really what they are. I mean, they're here to give back to the community, get involved, and get a little something out of it.
Is this between 7 and 3:30ish or
No, this is really,
weekend?
yeah, this could be anything. It could be between 7 and 3:30. It really depends on their class schedule, our schedule, and just figuring out what time works. So I've started initial conversations with these 7 teams. Each team has a lead that I talk with. They talk with me, and then sort of they go back to their team. I go to you guys, and we, find a good match. We have 1 team for biodiversity, which is really just planting some natives somewhere. It could be ripping out, like, I don't know if there's this stilt grass, like on the corner of the meadow there where we were throwing the twigs and stuff near that tree. There's like, they could literally rip that out and throw a few plants in, something like that. 1 team for that. I don't know, it's 3 or 4 kids. Each kid has to do 8 to 10 hours.
You could consider Ron Stanko's.
Yes, there's the meadow. And the last team is education and communication. So that's something I'll work with them. Hopefully Nate can get on board. Anybody else here who'd like to kind of be a part of it, we're going to get together and meet with them either at the library or the borough and talk about signage. What kind of signs we'll create, riparian buffers, this, that, or the other. So, if you guys have any input you want, like we could really use a sign like this, and they can help do some research and come up with the wording to just help us move that along more quickly. So it's a big undertaking, I think, but I think it's going to be really good. It could develop a long-term relationship with Penn State. Brian is also planning to get us on the City Walk, biodiversity, whatever that thing is with the iNaturalists, which happens around Earth Day.
City nature.
City Nature. Thank you, Lucy. And they also are having a sustainability expo December 1st. So I've considered the deadline to sign up is October 5th. I don't know if you're doing that for yourself, Nate.
Yeah, but my company's gonna.
Right. So I'm debating on whether a few of us want to go out and set up a table there, and just build some relationships with some of the students and some of the other people. It's the same woman who runs this class, Masa, is the one who's kind of runs this. There's a group of 3 of them. I'm trying to think the other names. I feel like it was Colleen. I'm trying to think of the names of the other 2. there are 4 individuals involved in this whole greenery sustainability thing they're trying to put together at Penn State that's still in the works. They've got the greenhouses there. Eventually we'll be able to go. We can pull from the parklands, take them to the greenhouses, let them grow, bring them back in, get these natives growing. We can really get some projects going with some of these students, which could be really interesting. So that's where we're at now. This is sort of the first foray. We'll see if today, how the students do, how I handle it all, how it all sort of works over the next 2-3 months, and see what happens.
If for some reason that partnership doesn't work out long-term, at least for the greenhouse, I know, like, I'm in Conrad Weiser School District, they have a native plant sale and they have a greenhouse that, and I'm assuming, like, Wyomissing and Wilson probably don't have, like, 4-H ag programs, but I would think there's other school districts we could potentially partner with to look into doing something like that long-term.
Yeah.
If Penn State doesn't work out.
Yeah, I think it will. They are still trying to get the school itself to sort of on board with the program and figure out what this program looks like and how it's all gonna sort of flesh out. Yeah. How long that takes, I don't know. So that's education. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I think you covered it. I mean, there's also like I can't remember her name now, but there's another faculty that has cohorts of students that are environmental science majors, and she's been doing projects around campus with them, that are more involved, and they're, really getting involved in like designing, doing planting plans and planting bioswales and doing essentially landscape design and installation on campus. And like right now, that's kind of where their focus is, and she's open to the idea of like starting to push some of those projects off campus, and that would be with, students that are not taking taking their elective science class, would be sport and environmental science majors, so would be definitely, that's a longer term project, but just something that we can also be thinking about, and she's interested definitely in.
Yeah, I think there's potential to really do some good stuff with that. Any questions or input on that?
I'm concerned about, well, I mean, I like the idea of having a team, remove some invasives and replace it with natives. Yeah, but like thinking of that stilt grass, I mean, there's acres of it now that have pushed aside goldenrod. Not that it wouldn't matter to, but it's gone to seed this year. It's an annual, so there's tons and tons of seed in that soil.
It's already seeded.
It will definitely come back next year. I don't know if there's some way to, yeah, I was just trying to think of, some other, similar project where they'd be more likely to have success. And then, of course, almost anything they plant could be eaten by deer. So, but, there might be 1 or 2 plants that would have a chance to survive. So anyway, just want to be, look to success.
Right. Yes, I have a meeting tomorrow morning with Michelle, Larry, Greg, and they're going to give me more information than I have.
Which, Lucy, you bring up a valid point. In the Rotary grant and the other grants where we applied for funding for purchasing and planting invasives, shelters to protect them from the deer were included in the budget.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of what I was starting to think with this project is, I mean, like, to get 3 to 4 people planting plants for 8 to 10 hours, I mean, that's a lot of plants, a student with no experience can plant a plant in 15 minutes, 1 gallon, so if we have groups of people that are doing that,
Well, as far as biodiversity, we have 1 group.
yeah.
So you've got, and I can tell you how many people are in that group. It's 3 or 4 people. And it doesn't necessarily have to be planting plants. Like, we can think of other things.
No, I mean, I'm just
Or
saying,
it could
like,
be plants in
if we
medians
all
along.
Yeah. Or if there is a budget period for any of the work that those student groups are going to be doing.
Yeah, because I think everything that they're doing falls under the umbrella, other than the School Highlands mini grant, which is solely for signage, but even that, I mean, their ideas are gonna go into the signs that we end up buying and installing, but the Rotary grant, the county grant, and the money that we budgeted, that's all for removal of invasives, planting of natives, trail relocation, riparian buffer, all of that, so we copied and pasted basically the Rotary grant budget to the county, and both include the cost for shelters. Just again, Larry has made it abundantly clear to us, you can plant these, and if you don't protect them, they're gonna be gone in a day.
Another thing that I've thought about for a long time and never really gotten very far with is learning to use IMAP invasives, and wouldn't it be great to have a project within IMAP invasives that would allow us to, monitor over time what we're doing in the park and what the results are. And, these young kids could probably learn how to use that a lot faster than me. So maybe not this year, but if it goes on, it would be fantastic to have them, work on that, and they could teach us. And you can actually, just map out exactly where the invasives are.
I mean, some of the invasives are mapped out in the stewardship plan.
Yes.
What's not mapped out in the stewardship plan is where there's like really good natives, populations of natives, I feel like. That wasn't really addressed in there, which was something we talked about.
And I'll
But
have
even-
to check. Our system that we use for water and sewer and all that, we might be able to use that for that.
Oh.
We
Map
might be
out.
able to map out the parklands and say, all right, this area, two sections.
Well, we could also break it down into the management units that are in the plan.
Right. Yeah, I think there's a lot of places we can go with all of this. I think it's just seeing.
Yeah.
We'll meet tomorrow, figure out what the first steps are, and just roll from there. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. As far as the outreach committee, Lucy and Margaret and Jana joined myself along with a few other people to not remove low-hanging limbs, as it says, but to mostly just pick up limbs that have fallen. And there were shelters that had been built by the kids and just lots of branches on the ground. So we removed a lot more than I actually realized we were taking out, just to lessen the chance of any sort of, just from a fire prevention standpoint and a cleanup standpoint. We spent 2.5 hours, 2.5 hours out there. We probably only got through 25-30% of it, but we had fun, and the guys helped clean up. So.
And your son was very helpful, thank you.
Yes, he was. So yeah, this was an easy project that we can kind of do a lot more regularly. It's not hard to get a couple people out there, get a couple wheelbarrows from you guys, and we all brought our own gloves and eye gear, so it worked out, and on we went. Yeah. Any questions on that? No? All right. So actually, under education, I really just spoke mostly about our partnership with PSU Berks, because that's really what we've been talking about. So that's really been all covered, unless anybody has anything else.
I was questioning about the Rotary, wanting to schedule invasive removal project in December. I mean, the ground could be frozen. I mean, I don't know that makes sense. Maybe.
Terry talked about that at
Maybe
our
there's
last
something.
meeting, and they were both
Yeah.
on board.
Usually doesn't freeze too awful cold in December. Now, I say that, and it will this year, but it usually, am I right, Dwayne? Usually it's.
Yeah, it's not freezing. It's usually 60 degrees in December.
No, it won't freeze because you're fixing the stone house pond.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well,
Also being able to identify,
I think that's where like Larry's the expert in that
but
Yeah,
able to
I mean,
figure
I
out-
was referring to, we talked about that
Yeah.
meeting at the Parks Barn 2 weeks ago is when we were kind of spitballing ideas and those were the dates that they threw out and I'm like, if that's when you think you're gonna get volunteers. I think the concern was, we know fall and spring are prime for planning and we want volunteers to focus on planning and summertime, you're probably gonna get less people that wanna go out in extreme heat and humidity to take invasives out. So it would make more sense to do it when it's unfortunately cooler, but hopefully not freezing.
And as long as that doesn't impact the effectiveness of whatever you're doing that much, because, in the growth cycle of a plant, there might be certain times of year when pulling it or cutting it would have more of an effect.
Mm-hmm.
Would I be right, Nate? You're looking up.
Just.
Never mind.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you're pulling stuff or cutting, I mean, the only time seasonality really matters is if you're doing like cut stumps and there's certain species that
Oh,
uptake herbicide at
okay,
different times of year better.
okay. But yes, if you've got people who want to come out and do it,
These Rotary Club members want to come out,
you want to
down
know
for it.
that, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, my assumption is Larry knows what he's doing and he's gonna know which species to, which species to focus on and where to, and talk about,
And will that project be, promoted in general? That
I don't know, that's a conversation to have with Larry and
Okay.
Terry.
Invite other people, you mean?
Yeah.
Right. Like we could.
Well, I mean, there's nothing to also stop us from doing a just general
Doing
volunteer.
another one, yeah.
Second one, I mean, Terry said at that meeting, I think he had like 23 plus people. I mean, when we were talking about how many people he has coming versus how many trees we're actually planting, we're like, okay, we're gonna be done in half an hour, cause it's gonna be pretty quick.
Yeah, I think the more I talk with Parks, the more I can figure out what their schedule is, what suits them for us creating volunteer opportunities and getting them rolling. Yeah. Okay. Number 7 is more of what we've been talking about. Parkland forest stewardship study.
I think the thing
But this is the forward.
we didn't really touch on yet is if you wanna talk about the signs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. The mechanics, depends on how you look at it. They made these, and we can use these on the top of the trail signs that we were talking about. So if you guys want to take a look at them. They made them, it's very affordable.
And it's also double as personal defense.
Yeah, they're a little heavy, but they came up with some pretty good designs. I think they did a really nice job.
Yeah.
Very talented.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Who
it
did
came
it?
out well.
Yeah.
Mechanics.
Yeah.
In-house metal fabrication. And I think, my conversation with Clancy when he was showing them to me, I think they got a lot of enjoyment out of doing
Yeah, they
it
did.
too.
Sure. Sure, that was fun. So the goal would be some of these would go, is this the size we're thinking? Or are we thinking of going wider
That's your call.
Yeah, these are just samples with
These-
heavy metal and.
of what they could do?
I mean,
Yeah.
this is the size I think you would, I think you'd at least want this big.
Right.
Yeah, no small.
Because the signs that we were thinking of that were found online, there was sort of your cut image metal at the top. The posts came down and underneath of that was full of like a vinyl sticker cover that gave an explanation. It would say probably the trail name at the top,
Yeah.
which is that's what we have to talk about under park stewardship. Is the trail name at the top and then maybe something about that specific trail or the natives on that trail or the riparian buffer, stuff like that, like a blurb of information that would run down the width of that sign.
Give me
Do you have
time, I
those
have those
signs?
pictures
No,
somewhere.
they're around there somewhere. In the meantime, since we're talking about the signs under the implementation, we had spoken, well, you're looking for that too. We started trying to come up with sign names for the trails. Is this the one? Yeah.
This is the newer one, yes.
Yeah, okay. I was looking at both, so we decided a while back, I think you all recall, we were gonna name them after natives. Because we have the birds and the birdlands, we've got trees, so we were gonna go with native plants. I threw some together, Nate threw some together. What I was looking at in the stewardship plan was what trails are really moving, and it was kind of hard to see if and what was moving or being added or being taken away.
I would suspect, I don't know if you can see where I have the arrow. What I recall from our conversations out in the field with the consultants is anything in the floodplain, which is primarily this area. And the trail we just relocated is in this area.
Mm-hmm.
Those would be the trails that either, I think some of these down here we talked about potentially completely removing and not replacing versus ones closer to Old Mill that connect to the other trails, just relocating so they're outside of the floodplain or putting in a boardwalk system in what I would call this more wet marshy area at times.
Were we talking about a boardwalk system down at the bottom as well? Like long
That
term?
would just be grass, just mowed grass.
Yeah.
Is that brown trails down there below the red? At the bottom?
Your color identification is better than my eyes, cause that, I could
Well,
go.
so you have Roots Bridge, down to the Parks Barn. So you've got your creek, you've got the creek trail, and then your dotted lines, which I guess are grass already, they're grass now.
Yeah, they're pretty dry.
Yeah.
That's all pretty dry, okay, yeah.
That's, I remember Larry saying that section of trail, like below Bruce Bridge that runs
Here.
along the creek there, that one should get pushed back.
Yeah,
That I wonder if those like little dotted brown trails and that red one could just maybe merge into one. I don't know, I remember that one.
But really, the trails are just getting slightly moved rather than like completely real.
eradicate.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought,
My
so,
guess is that people are going to expect to see, if you name and match flowers, people are going to expect to see those flowers on that trail.
Yeah.
and that was part of the attempt, but I don't know, I mean, one,
Yeah,
people aren't gonna necessarily know what these flowers are to a certain
Well,
degree.
but we
And
do have an educational aspiration.
Right,
Yeah, I think like that was kind of my reservation with the
Yeah.
naming the trail names after native plants because I mean, there's not
We
a
can certainly,
lot and some of
We
the ones
plant them there?
we can plant them, we
Yeah,
can
so
plant
it
them,
would,
but if that's not part of
we
it.
would need to, think about the building restoration projects then around trail names and hoping that we get successful establishment of particular species that we've preemptively named the trail for. So I think there's a lot of like logistics around this that I put together some names. This is the one that I had thrown together, that I included some shrubs and wildflowers because I thought, we might have an easier time getting some of the shrub species established. I know that there's spice bush up on in that woodland area. Blackball is one that I see in other invaded woodlands, and so I'd be pretty confident we could find one or two and at the very least get some reestablished. But yeah, I think there is, and like the mountain in goldenrod.
There has
But-
to be an apple in the park system somewhere.
yeah,
I'm sure there is mayapple up there too, but those three was kind of like my, mayapple was one of those that will grow through some grass, but
Yeah.
things like little blue stem and like that, it's like there should be little blue stem
in that,
area, but
Right.
like there really isn't.
It should be pretty prominent if it weren't to me.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Right,
I've not
those
seen
plants ought to be
any, but
prominent.
like, so there,
I think it's
yeah,
not silly if we. I mean,
yeah, I think.
then we gotta go back to square one,
Well,
because there's
okay.
nothing
So Lucy, any
prominent.
birds that,
Well, we've got the birdlands, that's the
Yeah,
problem,
we were
like,
tasked with not using birds
from an
for
EMS
trees.
standpoint.
okay, all right, well,
From an
How about-
EMS standpoint,
do we
they,
have any Indian words we could use? But that's, Wyomissing and turtle.
oh, that's all, that's a metaphor.
Well, but,
I mean, I hear
it's on
you.
our seal for Pete's sake, so.
Yeah,
How many
um,
names do we need?
Question.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I mean, 6 to 12.
The other,
And some of them can be the only one that we were going to maintain was Winter's Way. Now, you could combine plants with historical figures of the area, with the tunes, and Winter is somebody who did something.
I always,
Who's the one that donated to the parkland?
Well, the big name is
Yeah.
Paul Edelman, who has a bench, and Clymer, who has a bench.
1, 2,
They
3,
were-
4, 5, 6,
And
7.
Dick Winters was the
6.
first parks director.
Edelman,
Island
the
Parks.
women, the men thing, that's right.
Is it worthwhile at all from when it was the farm before it became the boroughs? Is there any historical? Like, I have that giant poster, actually it might be downstairs, it was in my office for a while, of when it was the farm with some
Yeah.
type of like horse event
Yeah,
that
I
was
don't
there.
know
Do you
who-
remember that, Dwayne? It came out of the farm.
Something about that.
A friend of mine used to ride horses.
Yeah.
The Goodman barn was a horse barn where they would ride horses now between Old Mill and the creek.
Oh, can we bring back?
Something
that?
about Farr Nursery was there too.
Yeah,
About what?
honestly, I think
Back.
pushing the trail naming towards like historical context or like topography, vistas and like that kind of thing, like might, ruffle less feathers or, people might, like there's a whole, people love the history of Wyomissing that I think we might get some folks, some more buy-in with the new signs and the relocation of trails, if then there's also like that kind of context versus, yeah. So I don't think there's anything wrong with naming some of them, like we've kind of brainstormed of like, but yeah, I think like it feels maybe like we're by setting a really narrow focus in this like draft of trail names, we're maybe like missing some of like the,
Aren't these ideas captured in the minutes from, I think,
Yeah, this is what we voted on
Yeah.
several meetings ago.
I'm just wondering what the other ideas were. I think it's a good point about the plants and the need to have them.
I think the focus of ideas was from a nature standpoint, parkland standpoint, focusing, because we were talking about the stewardship plan. And we had to push out the idea of birds from an EMS standpoint because of the birdlands. And we pushed out the idea of trees. I don't remember why.
So like Cherry Lane.
Yeah, we've got so all of that can be confusing for EMS if there's an issue.
Yeah, I understand.
But if you like the idea of naming them after native plants, can't we also have a plan to start putting those plants along
Absolutely.
those trails?
And I have nothing against historical or a combination of them.
yeah, I just think a combination,
A
'cause it,
combination would be nice if
Yeah.
it was all, really the goal was for them to flow and sound good. I mean, I don't really want to say Joe Pye weed, because nobody wants the word weed. I was thinking you could just say Joe Pye path,
yeah.
and just drop the
Joe
weed.
is good. 'cause
Yeah, but everybody kind of knows what milkweed is at this
That's a
point.
cool name.
So if we're all on board, not that we're making a motion, but if we're all on board,
Trillium.
can go back to the drawing table and try and incorporate some,
There's trout lily down by the.
That's what it was.
yeah, there is, I know there's some areas that have distinctive natives.
Yeah.
So if we can go back to the drawing board and do a combination of some historical concepts, perhaps some natives that have pretty and pronounceable names that are actually in that area that we know of. Like I know there's echinacea growing somewhere down, I thought there was a bunch of that was being taken over by the really tall.
There's cutleaf coneflower down there.
The cutleaf coneflower, that's, yes, Rebecca, yeah. So if we're all on board with going back to the drawing table with this, we can. We also don't have to, I mean, are these paths that are listed on here relatively accurate with what's in, or have we added new cut-throughs? The question is, are we keeping these levels of cut-throughs and just this sort of teal blue that shoots straight from left to right across and up? Can we change that and make that part of, the purple, or
Yeah,
do we really care?
on the version that I sent, I kind of like broke up the purple trail and that blue.
Yeah.
Just because like once you get up into the woods there, like it feels like a different thing. Like I did that as like the teal lower I listed as the milkweed or monarch.
Mhm.
Then the upper one as spice bush, and same thing with the purple sections of like, I don't know if that's like overreaching our authority as education and outreach, but some of that I feel like in terms of like a naming a like cohesive experience of a trail,
Right.
like there's some kind of mood changes throughout that I think
Drawing, Rob was here.
might work to kind of break. There's like one or two that I was like, it feels like a bit of a
Trail,
Yeah.
this
it
one.
feels like two different places on the same trail, could be.
My guess is that council's not going to go for two different name themes. I think council's going to expect one theme, flowers, historical, whatever. I think they like, and I think it just feels like one park if you're naming everything the same way.
Yeah, I think that was
So I
for Mark.
I would rather try to match the trail names with the natives that are there. I don't know whether you try to do that, and just have a plan for planting more of the flowers on the places where the trails by that name are.
The other option would be some of your trails could be named Edelman or Old Man, because we already have Edelman's Bench, Edelman's March, Old Man Echo, those names that are already there, the Goodman Barn, Ruth's Bridge, those names that are already there could correlate to trails that run alongside them.
I just don't think the big support for that.
I'm
Committee
afraid
might
it's
like
gonna be a major challenge to get native wildflowers. So many different ones growing alongside these paths. They're not.
Yeah, I mean, that's where we
There's a
went
reason
through
they're
when
not
I looked
there.
at what natives are local. I don't know exactly if it's growing there or not, but I matched the locality with the, growth habitat in the area, be it under the pines or in the meadow, and tried to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also when we say, well, they're not there now, I mean, this was like logged and agricultural field, and so like we wouldn't really expect to see a natural reestablishment of native plants. It just, we're past that point, and it doesn't happen unless you reintroduce species.
Right.
So it's not, I'm just saying, like, just because it's not there now, like, we would expect that they would not be there now, even though they would have been there 100 years ago.
We
Just,
can reintroduce
there's
them.
limited rebound without human intervention from disturbance like agriculture and logging. So we could do that, and depending on how we go about that, I think it could be successful. But just
I mean, it'd be great if it's, you think there's a reasonable chance for success. More interest.
There's certainly like perennial and grass species that the deer seem to generally avoid.
Little
Right.
piece of trivia too with Paul Edelman is him and Clymer were the ones who, when we got the parkland donated to us, they're the ones that planted or had planted all the pine trees for the pine forest. They pushed for that, did it, and got it done.
Yeah, and like that's one that it is like, that's the pine tree forest to like, that so many people are like, I don't know. It's a tricky thing naming trails. But
Mhm.
Purpose is both, do we need to get rid of the current trail names, or there are new trails that need to be named, or those are all options?
We don't need to get rid of anything, but I mean, there's no theme or rhyme or reason necessarily to the trail names that are there. And there are several trails in Brown that don't have names
That's right.
that
Brown
may or
other
may
trails.
not need, they're just called other trails. And I don't know that many of the trails have signs.
A lot do.
A lot of them do? Don't, right, yeah, that's what I thought. I've seen very few signs.
So are there
So I-
official names now?
Yeah, they're on the map.
All the,
The Creek Trail, Pine Woods Trail,
Oh, okay.
Summit
The legend.
Well,
Trail.
some people refer to these, and I'll
Right.
meet you on Summit Trail, and that it's known and used.
I think Summit is probably the only one that's commonly known. I mean, just knowing some like emergency response calls in the parklands, dispatch, so like on 911, and they can pull up your exact location, and because these are all mapped with EMS and Berks County Department of Emergency Services, I know there was a call that came in that 911 was like, oh, you're on at such and such trail, and the person's like, I have no idea where I am, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the goal was if we were gonna do all this work, why don't we need trail signs, we need signage, we need educational signage, do we introduce some new ideas?
And like if we're gonna invest in building these, nice, beautiful signs, we wanna like make sure we are happy with the names and feel like they are cohesive and intuitive and all that good stuff.
It is a big undertaking that will absolutely anger certain people. But that's the way of the world.
give it to Penn State.
We have them on the, we didn't do it, that kid over in the freshman class. Science did it,
That's right.
environmental science. All right, I'll take it back to the drawing board and think about it.
Do you know how many signs we need?
At least 7.
But for budgetary, it'd be a good thing to know.
Yeah,
And are we talking solely trail name
Trailheads.
signs, or are we also talking, so
Obviously, state trail.
yeah, there's the educational signage, which I would think you'd want at least 2 to 4 of those.
so the trail name signs will be tall and there will be some educational information on there underneath. So you'll have the cutout and then the breadth of the vertical going down, you can put a long vinyl sticker on there that has your trail name and then some information. Could be about things you might see on the trail or some history or, anything. But then I think in certain areas, we might want 2 or 3 of your more sort of long, wide signs that gives you some imagery and some ideas about repairing buffers and watersheds and why, this is what's happened historically through this timeline of this creek. I don't know, stuff like that.
Because it'd be kind of nice, like, we moved that one trail and it's the start of a trail to, if we're
That would
doing
be a
that. to
great
have
spot to
things-
get
Have the
signs.
sign there kind of ready. And
Why'd you do this?
yeah, I mean, we don't have to pick all the names at once. Let's do this.
No. Yeah,
Pick a section and do it and the rest will come together.
yeah, we can get at least,
Wait, does it make sense to since you did move that trail, come up with what that trail is to be
Yeah.
named?
Yeah, that's
Make
what
that
he's saying.
sign,
Yeah.
let's install it, look at it and make sure you. got
yeah, I mean, but
all
if
the right-
we build one sign and then change our minds again, like we did from
Well,
5, 6, 8
That
months
helps
ago.
us from changing our minds.
So, yeah, it's gonna lock us in. So I think, give me a couple weeks to go back to the drawing board and come up with some more things and talk. And we've got a subcommittee meeting soon and the educational team I have to meet with. And yeah, I mean, that would be the first sign that I think we should manufacture and get in, would be the trail name sign. And maybe even, that's one of your main entrances,
Yeah.
that there could be a wide sign there that people can stop and read about riparian buffers and
That
depths
way,
and.
everybody will be able to see what
creek
we're really
beds
up to. We'll have the new sign at the beginning of the trail, we'll have the trail name sign, we move the trail. And then people know what they're in for and what we're doing.
Right,
It'll look more professional than we've just moved the trail and
Right.
have signs sticking in the ground.
yeah, but whatever that sign is that talks to them, it's gotta be long-term, not like,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is what we
yeah,
got.
well, that's what I mean, like,
You know,
finish
yeah.
this area.
This is what, this is, yeah. So yeah, that was my vision too, is we get that sign up in that area.
So what do we want to name that trail?
You're gonna have to name them
You
all.
would tell me.
It's gotta be all or nothing.
I had not
it
realized that we could do that. I thought we had to, like,
Do
I
whatever
thought we
you
were in
want.
a 2026 timeline and we needed to have.
Well, we do, to a certain,
the
yes,
sign,
we are.
The trail signage and.
Okay,
we
but this
need to-
group is not naming anything. It goes to council.
Okay,
Okay, we understand.
so
We
that
need,
won't
we need
just,
to understand our place.
yeah, okay.
I mean,
I'm not sure,
It
I'm
might
not sure.
start- it might start here, but it's not ending here.
Yeah, but we do also have a timeline to a certain degree.
Yeah.
For the signage, they want to get it, the names should really be decided upon, and the signage should be decided upon by the end of this year, because the signs need to be created and the money needs to be spent by the middle of 2026. So we are on a timeline for that.
Yeah, but so this quick sign for the relocation, that's, you're essentially saying that's not gonna happen.
I don't, I mean, we
Or
can,
Is that gonna happen if we push that through in the next week or two?
I think we could add a motion for the October council agenda, even though it's not on here. If you collectively want to talk about picking one name and then have you request a motion to approve it at council as a test, a short-term test, so we can fabricate a sign,
mhm.
get it out there, and give the subcommittee further direction on where to go with the naming. If council wants to approve that, they can.
Because I think, where are the names going on the very
Yeah,
top of the
that's all
sign?
right.
So we can add them whenever.
Well, you're saying, I think the name is gonna have to be on, unless we can etch it on the metal, it's gonna have to be on the vinyl. It'll be on the vinyl.
The printed styrene is the
Right.
material, and then it's fastened to the metal. This printed styrene has a longevity to it, it won't fade, it won't get wet, I mean, it'll get wet, but it won't do like paper or anything like that. You can't print and do anything on this metal. So this styrene would be fastened to the outside of that.
So your sign is gonna be tall and narrow. At the top, we'll have your cutout. And then between your steel rails coming down, in here is where you're gonna have, you know, from here to here, I guess, could be your signage information. You know, the name of your path, and then all the things you wanna talk about, any imagery we wanna add in there.
And where's the trail name sign?
The trail, right here, right at the top of that, in that styrene or vinyl, whatever it is, creation, will be developed online and then sent to a print shop and printed. And then that'll get,
Theoretically, I mean, it would be you know, we'd have to pay for a prototype, but we could call it a prototype.
and this,
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
yeah.
Do you have any
Wanted to
ballpark
push
with
it.
what one would cost?
In that proposal that lady sent me from Colorado, her cost, but we can do it a lot cheaper than that. I don't have what Greg's fees would be for us to make, for us to produce it.
But this is money that's already approved.
Yeah.
It's either coming from the stewardship plan budget or from the sign budget.
Correct.
So,
But you didn't really ask, but were you looking for an approval or final direction on the toppers? So that you guys can move forward with that?
No, I
Or
mean,
is the idea to have one that speaks to the borough or the parklands, or to have multiple images throughout the parkland?
this was to show you what
what
we
can be
do.
done, yeah.
If you have ideas, now would be a good time to throw them out there to see if we could actually do it.
Well, I know it has to be relatively straightforward. I feel like it should be somewhat consistent, it was my thought, but I didn't know if we could even pick that unless we were committed to our you know, this is like putting the cart before the horse. I don't recommend doing deer hooves because they are loved and hated by somebody.
Well, can you do, you need one, or could you do 7 different ones?
We can,
do
that's, we
So,
can.
Yeah, they can do 7
Do
different
these-
ones.
Do these
Creative.
flowers have silhouettes that could be put on?
Easily, but he tried doing a black-eyed Susan. I gave him an example of like a black-eyed Susan and
The
it
center's
was
a problem.
a little too complicated.
Yeah, some of them can and some of them
Well, but
can't.
It's all connected like the acorn, you know, what I mean, he can do that, but he can't have something just
Well, that's all right, I mean, just the
Center.
outside is fine, that'd be fine.
like there.
So yeah, it could be the leaves of certain things. Yeah, I mean, just different leaf shapes that correlate with the natives. If not, their flowers can work. I just don't know that we can come up with what these are gonna be until we can lock in a name.
Greg, is there a point where if you make 14 different ones, it's more expensive than making one? Is it mass, or is it gonna matter because they're hand doing every one?
They're hand doing each one, it's just,
Yeah.
depending on what it is, it'll just take more time. And they're here, so. Yeah, it just depends if they can make what you're looking for.
Right. Yeah, I understand like the level of what, needs to be. What it needs to be.
Do you think maybe by the November meeting, you could lock down where you wanna go with the trail names that,
Yeah, I'm hoping we can do that before then.
that way we could
Sort
put
of
a
get that.
motion on the agenda for
Right.
council to approve and then you could move forward with at least the one sign.
Yeah.
In terms of your educational sign at Old Mill though, I agree, that's in the budget. We have the money to do it. I don't think we need anybody to approve. We really just need the messaging the
Right.
educational committee wants to put on there.
Right. And that's where I'm gonna work with Penn State too, on doing some of that research and looking at some signage and.
We're fabbing the whole thing, the whole sign in-house, not just the top, but the posts and the backing board, that's all in-house.
I mean, it'd be nice to give one a shot and make sure I have confidence in them, but
Did you start?
it'd be nice to do one and go, oh, okay, yeah, we got this.
Okay.
Randy, is there any type of, even if we're not getting it fabricated with like the full message, the name, just like a sample board that if they fabricate the rest of it, we have a sample board that they could attach and be like, yep, it's gonna work.
Of what the material would be?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
Then I would say maybe have them start fabricating a whole one top to bottom.
Okay.
We
I
can
just
get,
need to know the size,
Well, the specs, you gave me the specs.
so that's what you're building on?
Yeah, okay, if that's what you guys want.
I haven't seen the specs, but as long as that that vinyl or whatever it is, polystyrene is wide enough that we can get.
It was the
Some
specs from the
words
site.
on
You said the last meeting, you showed the image of it.
I don't know that it.
Yeah, but I don't know that
To look for.
I don't know that I have, were there dimensions on it?
I don't think.
No,
I don't remember actual dimensions, we just had
The
images.
first one where I had. all
Yeah,
the
'cause that's where I got
specs.
the dimensions from.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing anything, or maybe it wasn't in our packets, it was just shown to us, that might have been it.
Could be,
There you
Because
go.
I don't have it in my file.
that's it, with no dimensions.
Yeah, that's it, there's no dimensions on that, but that's what I'm saying, like, it needs to read wide enough that they have, that you can get, storytelling, informational.
My guess is that's at least 12 to 18 inches.
Yeah.
18, probably better.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking, 18 inches would be ideal.
We're
That
gonna
was an
mimic
interesting
whatever they
thought.
are that they sell. That's where we got the dimensions.
Okay. I don't
And
know.
I'll check with Randy to make sure whatever we're getting put on there is gonna fit. We can make that work.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's what I'm visualizing, is you're looking at a flat steel slab. That one looks narrower, but yeah, that's the same company. But that one does look narrow. Maybe it's because the sign is longer.
Or what it's
It reads
against.
narrower. Yeah, I don't know.
I think it is.
And
No,
just
it's on an angle like this, that's why it's reading narrower.
another idea of a theme, something that occurred to me might be, prominent conservationists or naturalists, especially ones that maybe have a connection to Berks County. I don't know that there'd be enough, but we've got Baird, for instance, arguably the most important naturalist of the 1800s. born in Reading, first curator of the National Museum, second secretary of the Smithsonian. Baird was responsible for making the Smithsonian what it is today. You just cannot, anyway.
That's what it was yesterday.
It was yesterday. Yeah. Anyway, just a thought.
Mhm.
And then, on the other
Okay.
hand, we might just want to keep the names that we have, and if we have to fill in, that might be a small project. That might be easier to sell.
Would it make sense to have a theme for the cutouts on the top, that they'd all be the same? Is that the thinking?
I think it depends on if
Yeah.
what the trail names are, you know, if we can keep the trail names isolated to like these fantastic little group of natives,
Yeah.
then the signs can be different. If
Yeah.
our trail names are a little more varied,
Yeah.
maybe the sign imagery should be more consistent, that you need that
Some
that
kind of.
thorough,
Yeah,
that thread
Okay.
to keep it all flowing. If that makes sense.
But you can also get consistency with color and type font and type stuff.
Oh,
like
yeah.
that, all that other stuff.
Yeah. Okay, I will look at this. I'm hoping to meet with the education team soon and see what we can get. And I can get whatever I put together out prior to, as soon as I can. I can get it all out to you individually and sort of get feedback and move forward from there so that we can have something to vote on. And I think something we'll all agree on. And hopefully council will. Okay, what else do we have? That really is all just, all this is just talking about, there's the trail names and the grants. Okay. The grant for the signage has to be used by, I want to say June 2026? Okay. Okay. All right, does anybody have anything else? Is there any, it's not on here, can we add it to the public comments? I keep forgetting to. Is there any public comment? Anything Michelle to add?
I think the signs are beautiful. I think it's a great idea. They're really, really nice.
Thank you. Okay.
Finding names.
Exactly. All right, then meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you all, I appreciate it.